get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. I know it's a holiday out there. So half of the people are probably not even at work. And if they're at work, they definitely don't want to be at work, because there's a lot of people who aren't working today. But if you're in transportation, you are one of them who are working today. So we're here, we're live. It's a solo show today because I try and be as accommodating as I can, especially around the holidays, to not have anybody come on as a guest, because like I don't need to take time away from their families and everything. But today's show, again, we're going to do a little bit of a lane analysis out here. And then we're also going to be breaking down a couple of pretty big things that are going on in the industry from a legislative standpoint and everything. And we're going to put that out there. But, you know, again, I think it's another great time to remind everybody that, you know, this is the time of the month after the holidays that rates start to dissipate and go down. And for all the drivers out there who've been getting higher rates, I hope you guys continue to get paid. But, you know, again, if we're looking at it from an overall perspective, and I know a lot of people are gung-ho on trying to be the first and be like, oh, there's a recovery, look, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is that normally happens around this time. And this is about that week when things start to trend back off of holiday highs, and capacity is probably going to start loosening up exponentially here this week. If you've seen any tightness out there, this is just, in my experience, this is when things have started to calm down a little bit out there. But I do want to drop just one quick subtle reminder, you guys. We do have a weekly newsletter. All right. It's just on Wednesdays. It's just freight related. There's going to be some market report data in there, fuel prices, and just some headlines in the industry. We're just trying to put another tool out there for people who maybe just kind of want to stick to the industry. How do we get better and everything else? And that just drops out there. But I need you to go to thefreightcoach.com. I don't auto sign anybody up for it. I need you to go to my website. It'll auto prompt you to register. And again, you guys, it's just once a week. And if you have any fears about your email getting sold, I just pay the invoice for the software we use. My team handles everything. So I don't even know who signed up for it. So if that's any consolation on if your information is going to be safe, it is 100% safe, because I don't even know who signed up for it. But let's jump in. Corey Buchan over on YouTube. Happy Monday. Brad Reinert. Happy Monday. He's over on LinkedIn. We go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, you guys. So tune in to all of those. And if you're not subscribed, you guys, subscribe to the show at one of those. Rank it as well. You know you want to. But anyways, let's jump in. So last Friday's show, we were talking about it was Kansas City, Kansas to Minneapolis, Minnesota reefer lanes. Okay. And I'm going to show you the similarities here, again, of that regional price. So there's a lot of discrepancy out there from individuals who think it's a different lane. It's got to be a completely different price. And I came with receipts, as the kids say, out there on how much similarities are actually out there. Like, yes, there's a little bit of a difference, but it's actually very similar. So we are going actually to Brad Reinert's hometown of St. Louis, Missouri today. And we are looking at St. Louis, Missouri to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And again, same region as Kansas City, Kansas, going up to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And if we're looking at that lane, again, we got reefer. Look at the price here, you guys, $1,300. So again, if we're looking at a similarity out there, the Kansas City to Minneapolis lane was going for $1,450 out there. All right. So again, yes, there's a little bit of a price difference. It's 250 miles to the east out there, and it's about 180 miles or 150 miles, I believe, from Minneapolis to Eau Claire. So we have that. So again, it's the exact same region, but again, it's a very similar price structure. And again, we are going off of long-term pricing. All right. I don't ever play the truck in hand mentality when I'm going and building any of and servicing any of my customers' freight. I want to keep as similar prices for as long as humanly possible out there, because this stuff doesn't jump around as much as there's people out there proclaiming. All right. I'm not saying that there isn't pockets of volatility and days of the week volatility that come along with this, right? Like, I would argue this lane in particular, if we're looking at it, it's 500 miles. Okay. So this lane from Friday to Monday is probably going to cost you on that top end. All right. It's going to be higher because it's less miles. Drivers like to run miles out there, but I would almost bet the farm that Monday through Thursday, this load moves for the exact same price every single time. And if we're looking out here over the 15-day and the 90-day, so yes, there's been about $100 price increase over the last 90 days. But if we filter through holidays and everything else, I would suggest that this rate is probably going to drop back down closer to that 1230 that it's shown in the 90-day one here, coming up after this post-holiday hangover tends to dissipate. And then now if we go the opposite direction, all right? So this is showing $2,000 from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, going down to St. Louis, Missouri. All right. So this is your backhaul lane. The Minneapolis to Kansas City, again, same region. That one was going for $19.15. All right. So we are looking at a $100 difference. And I get it. All right. The price is different, but it's actually not at the exact same time, because if you apply the strategies that we talk about in this show and you're getting those exact same carriers time and time again, you are going to keep the exact same rate. You're going to keep the same margin percentage, because that's ultimately what we're going for. We're going for longevity. We have to remove this one-off mentality, try and just book a last-minute truck, everything else that goes along out there. And again, I'm not in everybody's operation. I'm just telling you guys what works for me and my company and what I've applied from a strategy for the overwhelming majority of my career that's out there. And again, if we're looking at it from a carrier's perspective, this is a very profitable lane for you all to be looking at right now. If you're in the Midwest, Kansas City, St. Louis, stuff like that, and you haven't looked, and again, I know driving into the snow and everything else sucks, all right? But this is a very profitable lane, all right? If we're looking at it, again, round trip, I forget what we put out there on this last one, but again, we're looking at like $3,500 on a round trip, and it's 1,000 miles, all right? So that's $350 a mile round trip. Again, there's pockets of this, and if you compare this lane to the national average is exponentially lower than this out there in the reefer market. So again, where you position your trucks in the lanes that you run, there's seasonality that comes along with this. But again, if you're going out there and you're pricing your freight for the long term, you guys, there is a lot more stability. And that's the strategy you need to deliver to your customers, and then ultimately trickle that down to your carriers. You need to bring them stability out there, because there is a lot more stability in the market than people think. But again, if we're out here and we're looking at this mileage, and I chose these lanes for a reason, you guys, because it is that 500 mile or less lane. So Monday through Thursday, those rates are going to be the same, right? I would say that this one, Eau Claire going down to St. Louis, is probably moving for $2,000, if not $1,900, or a little bit less with ease every single time. You're going to see that higher rate out there, that 21. I bet you the weekend might hit 22, even 23, depending on some other circumstances. But again, that's a 1 day a week. And if you're out there servicing your customers for the long term, you guys, you're going to take some hits. All right. Contrary to what is talked about out there, I wish it was just as easy as making money every single time on every single load, and you never have to take a loss to service the account and everything else. But the more freight you move, you're going to find yourself in those situations. And you're going to have to ask yourself right now, if you go back, and it's like there's two schools of sales reps out there. There's the account managers who, again, everybody's got a place in an organization, but it's a lot different when you're just hitting accept on a tender every single time it comes in than it is the individual who went out there, developed that business over time, took them a year and a half. Hell, I just saw one of my friends say that he's been prospecting a customer for like 12 years and he finally just moved that freight, right? You think that guy's not going to take a loss here and there if he has to service that account? So again, that's the mentality as we're going out there. But I'm not saying volatility in markets don't exist, because volatility does exist, you guys, but it's not as rapid or as a swing as some people want you to think. Again, I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. All right. I'm literally just trying to help you all understand the stability, because there's a lot more stability out there than volatility. That when you actually move freight for a very long time, you start to see those patterns over time. Again, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that for the majority of the time, it's a lot more stable than you might think if you're applying the strategies that we talk about on this show. So, again, you guys, if you enjoy this, hell, if you want one of the lanes you're trying to get in with, drop it in the comments. All right. I'm going to start doing this here. Maybe potentially in the coming future, there might be an official data partner on the show who we might be doing something similar to this on a more frequent basis. And again, it's all about education. Am I going to be right all the time? Absolutely not. But I've been doing this for a very long time, you guys. I've been through a lot of markets. I've been through some very challenging markets, some very flourishing markets, but stability and consistency is the name of the game. And the data will always err on the side of stability a lot more than people think, if we can subtract kind of those pockets of volatility. Because again, if we're going out there and we're trying to service a customer for the long term, guess what? It's not always about printing money like some people want you to think it is. So that being said, let's jump in and break down some articles today. T. Landy, what is up? He's over on, they're over on YouTube there. My man, the strongest man in logistics. I discredited his squat. He actually squats over 1,100 pounds, probably closer to 1,200. He'll remind me of this immediately after the show. But Robert Baines says cycles will always cycle, might move a couple of degrees extra each way, but they always do cycle back 100%. But that being said, let's break down some articles, you guys. There's some pretty big headlines, and I'm pretty sure I talked about this here recently, but this actually went into effect last Friday, the 16th. This article is from overdriveonline.com. You guys, all the links to the articles are in the show notes. Click on them. Please do your own research. Formulate your own opinions on this. I'm just telling you what I think out there. This article is FMCSA immediate suspension rule for brokers takes effect. I think immediate suspension is a kind of a click thing, because like they give you like 7 days to do it. But anyways, you guys, it is cracking down on the FMCSA's final rule for broker financial responsibility has officially taken effect. The rule is designed to stop double brokering and non-payment issues by tightening the rules on the $75,000 bond that's out there. Most noticeably, it allows the FMCSA to immediately suspend a broker's authority if their available financial security falls below $75,000 and they fail to replenish it within 7 calendar days. It also clarifies what assets readily available mean for the fund, effectively weeding out ghost assets. 7-day death clock. There's no longer going to be a drag out over the bond, right? Like it's really clearing up a lot of this. So if your bond is, in simple terms, $75,000 bond is what's required for freight brokers to carry. If it dips below that $75,000, excuse me, you have 7 days to replenish those funds. All right. So if it's a $5,000 judgment against your bond and $5,000 is removed, you have 7 days to put that $5,000 back in to get to that $75,000 mark, or your bond is done. This ends the let me see here. Hold on. Sorry, my computer is just all right. So it also it makes changes to related to the trust provider's assets readily available, surety or trust responsibilities in cases of broker forwarder failure or insolvency. The FMCSA's own enforcement authority and entitles eligible to provide trust funds within a BMC 85 form. And in the state of Tennessee, This is a big one. In the state of Tennessee, the new legislation introduced would make it a misdemeanor for a person who, oh, never mind, that's on to a different topic. Excuse me. Article had multiple talking points in here, but the double brokering target, it's a direct strike on the pop-up brokers who open and this is where, when I say clean up the industry, you guys, and increase the standards for it, you guys, because contrary to what you see out there, standards are a very good thing. And I look at it is I think it's a good start with it, but I am of the mindset that I hope they do even more. And again, the FMCSA, to their credit, as well as the DOT, they have taken more corrective action in these 12 months than I have ever seen in the entirety of my career. I look at it though is like, for fraud, double brokering, and all of this stuff that goes on at an extremely high level out there sometimes, this puts a very big target on a lot of their backs. Because again, if you're out there and you're double brokering and you're tendering out a bunch of loads, as soon as somebody files against your bond, boom, it's going to kill your authority and you're no longer able to book freight, because that's going to be a big thing out there. So you look at tools like Highway has, DAT, all of that stuff. RMIS, everybody out there who has a fraud, Dale Prax has a great tool that's out there as well. All of that stuff's going to be notified in there. And again, there's some new technology out there, I believe, from the broker side as well, that's going to notify carriers of this. And again, I think that tool should exist. Carriers should be vetting their brokers to ensure all of that they're a legitimate company as well. I like that the FMCSA is taking a hard stance here. They have the ability to just flip the switch off and it's done. All right. And they're going to be shown inactive out there. And I just look at it as this protects carriers, because like I've said on this show a lot, I'm not going to say hundreds of times or thousands of times because it hasn't, but I've said it a lot of times, you guys. The ultimate victim of double brokering and fraud out there is the carrier who is legitimately hauling the freight from point A to point B that is not getting paid. All right. And again, it's easy to say they should know who they're booking. And I get it. Right. But there's a steep learning curve in business, you guys, because you don't just have it all figured out. Again, contrary to what you see on the internet, it's a lot harder than you think to spot these things. And then when your back's against the wall and maybe your credit cards are close to being maxed out, you haven't had a profitable month in a while, and somebody's coming through and offering like $1,000 more on a load, you're going to have a higher likelihood to take that freight. I don't care what anybody says. If you've never been in that situation where your back's against the wall and you don't know how you're going to pay your bills in the next, I don't know, we'll just call it 11 days because it's getting close to the end of the month. It's easy to say in a controlled environment when you're getting paid every couple of weeks that, oh, I would never act in that manner, until you're in that situation. So I think this is a great ruling no matter what. I am a broker, but again, I want to see standards raised. I want to see protections afforded to the carrier community that is out there, because they need it. All right. They need it a lot. And if there's any way, and now again, I would love to see the FMCSA have like a multi-strike rule or something like that, that if you open up a certain amount of MCs in a certain time frame, you're immediately deactivated. That'd be pretty cool. Or, if there's somehow 800 MCs listed at one address in like Wyoming or Southern California, maybe the FMCSA should just go in and automatically deactivate every single one of them. That might be cool. So again, my friends at the DOT who may or may not watch this show, I think that would be a great step. And there's got to be some form of executive power that shows that there's no way there's not a snowball's chance in hell that there's 800 businesses at one address in Sheridan, Wyoming. So again, use your administrative powers and shut those businesses off if they're, not legit. I think it's a great start in a great step in the right direction. Anyways, you guys, but again, that article, overdriveonline.com, FMCSA immediate suspension rule for brokers takes effect. Excuse me. Sorry. Drinking some coffee here. Next article, another very, very big deal that is going on. And I have reached out to the company who filed this to hopefully get them on the show. But again, they got, some stuff going on out there. So again, I'm out here working behind the scenes to try and get these guys to come on and talk about this a little bit further. But this article, freightwaves.com, C.H. Robinson makes its legal written case before the Supreme Court. And on broker liability, many of the arguments are familiar. One focus is a lack of federally mandated broker liability insurance. And then after years of conflicting circuit court decisions and the dozens of briefs that went along with those cases, the written arguments filed in the broker liability case of Montgomery versus Caribe are being put, in front of a new audience, the 9 justices of the Supreme Court. C.H. Robinson is the respondent in the case in the Supreme Court appeal by truck driver Sean Montgomery, struck and injured by a truck driven by Caribe Transportation in December of 2017. C.H. Robinson hired Caribe, and both were sued by Montgomery after he was struck. The broker claimed victory in the U.S. District's Court for in both the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Illinois and the Seventh Circuit on appeal, as both jurisdictions ruled the federal law prohibited C.H. Robinson from being held negligent in the hiring of Caribe. With that decision in conflict with the other circuits, the Supreme Court granted. I'm not a lawyer, so it's certiorari. I don't even know how to pronounce this in the case. And C.H. Robinson filed its brief that is out there. And in this case, their argument is centered in the F4A preemption, stating that the state level negligent hiring claims interfere with federal authority. Robinson's brief emphasizes that brokers are not motor carriers and should not be subject to the safety exceptions that allow states to regulate road safety. They argue that if brokers are held liable for every accident involving a hired carrier, it would create an impossible vetting standard that would destroy small carrier access to the market. Essentially, and again, this is all in summary here. C.H. Robinson is drawing that hard line to them. Like, we sit at desks, we're not out there driving trucks. Federal law says you can't sue us like we're behind the wheel. I look at it again, I don't have every detail of the case that's out there, but I look at a lot of high profile cases that have recently been affecting the industry. Just look at the $100 million judgment against Warner over the last couple of years. Like, they were sued. Their driver was on the opposite side of the freeway. Like, wasn't even remotely close to the initial cause of the accident. And then that truck crossed the center line and hit a Warner truck on the opposite side of the freeway. But somehow they were drug in to this. And I look at cases like this, again, so this is set for March 4th. So pay attention to this, you guys, because this is going to be right at the end of Q1 here. And I look at it as a very high precedent setting case that could really, really affect a lot of things that are out there, because I think it's natural that there are a lot of, like, anytime that there's an accident, everybody who's involved, whether it's the truck, the broker, the shipper, everybody's initially pulled into it. But at what point does the broker's liability end after they hire the truck? If something happens on the road, and they're talking about this, like like a standardized vetting that's out there, and that they're asking for one federal rule. And without it, we have a regulation by verdict where a jury in one state decides what safe vetting looks like for the whole country. And again, I'm in agreement on this on like a lot of levels with like a lot of high profile things that are going on out there, because I look at it as when you participate in interstate commerce and interstate trade and trucking and everything else, I think that falls under federal jurisdiction, and it should. There should be one federal ruling, right? So I look at trucking companies out there. If you're hiring drivers that cross state lines, there should be one way to get a CDL issued. There shouldn't be a state decision on how everything's done. And I think of it like this as well on the broker side. There should be one set rule, one set pass stop style vetting procedure. And again, I'm overly simplifying this here, you guys, for the show. But I look at, a lot of things can happen out there on the road. All right. And if errors happen and the broker followed all of their protocol, I don't see how they could get pulled in to this, right? When it could be proven that there was negligence out there, for the driver and everything else. And again, I don't want anything bad to happen, you guys. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But again, I live in the real world, and I don't see how it's a broker's fault if they followed a standard vetting procedure and the carrier cleared everything, and then the carrier goes out there and an unfortunate accident happens. I don't see how this could pull in a broker. I truly don't. I just look at this as this could be one of those things that could like fundamentally, again, shake the industry to the core, especially on the broker side of things, because if this rules against Robinson, this opens up, I bet, a lot more litigation. This will push a lot more down the pipe. And again, I want you guys to read about this case. I've covered this case on the show a few years ago. I want you guys to read about this case. I'm going to put the name of this case in the chat for you guys on YouTube. And I want you guys to check this out. All right. Do your own research on it. Heck, you can even use AI, drop the case in AI and have it summarize the case for you. But, I look at it is anytime something of this magnitude reaches the Supreme Court, there's a lot of finality that can come along with this. And again, I think that the broker's job of vetting a carrier has to stop at a certain point. And whatever happens out on the road, that has to bear the responsibility on the driver and the trucking company that's out there. Because again, the broker's not behind the wheel in that instance. And again, I think that there's a fine line between the broker doing everything right and then having something happen and then having a broker choose negligence. All right. I think that there's a fine line out there. And I'm not here to talk about the alternative. I'm here to talk about this case. And we can gladly talk about the alternative on a later show. But again, if you did everything in your power and you followed a standard protocol that's out there, and then unfortunately something happens on the road, I don't see how a broker can get drug into that. So I really hope that this rules in C.H. Robinson's favor at the end of the day when it boils down to it. But that article, you guys, again, do your research on it, especially if you're a broker. Freightwaves.com, hit it up. I dropped the name of the case in the chat on YouTube. You got to do a little bit of effort if you want to learn a little bit more about it. It's the case, broker liability case of Montgomery versus Caribe. So check that out. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be it for today. If you got value and you made it this far and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. Do your boy a solid. 75% of the viewers on the show, I just pulled the data, 75% of the viewers haven't even subscribed yet. Which is wild. I appreciate you guys coming back, but just hit that little button out there. But that is going to be it. If you got value in what you heard, you guys know what to do. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything.